Thought of visitors from another planet would give a lot of folks the willies.
Yeah, one man says it's been happening and that the government, specifically NASA, knows about it. J.R. Barry has the story.
It's a question man has been asking for centuries. Are we alone? And could there really be life out there somewhere? For some, the answer is easy. NASA, they say, knows that alien life exists and that we're being visited on a regular basis.
Maybe the powers to be are setting us up for disclosure and making it more subtle so that it isn't a big jolt to us.
Clifford Cliff is the worldwide director of MUFON, the Mutual UFO Network. They have some 1,000 investigators. One of their latest investigations has to do with this video from January 28th of this year. A mysterious light is seen descending from the sky in Jerusalem. Multiple videos have surfaced of the supposed event. They all show the light hovering above the Dome of the Rock. After a few seconds, there appears to be some sort of energy burst. And then the light zooms away. So, is this proof positive that aliens exist, or is it nothing more than an elaborate hoax? MUFON believes NASA knows for sure.
They do have a significant amount of information about the UFO phenomenon and ETs that they have not disclosed that are still there. Some of the astronauts have come forward now and are indicating that they have seen and witnessed things that were beyond their explanation.
Last October, during a satellite interview with NASA Director Charlie Bolden, I asked the former astronaut if he had ever seen anything in space.
JR, I must admit, everybody that goes to space wants to see an alien. Or wants to see some evidence that there is other life in our universe, and I'm no different. But I am here to report that I saw no evidence, although deep in my heart I believe that there is good potential for other life in our universe.
There is no doubt we are being visited.
However, one of Bolden's colleagues says otherwise. Dr. Edgar Mitchell was the sixth man to walk on the moon. He came forward years ago claiming to have proof that alien life is out there.
The universe that we live in is much more wondrous, exciting, complex, and far-reaching than we were ever able to know up to this point in time. And the fact we have wondered, were we alone in the universe forever? Only in our period do we really have evidence, no, we're not alone.
So what's going on here? Why the different stories from two credible NASA sources? Last month, I had the chance to catch up with the NASA director again, this time in person, and I asked him about Ed Mitchell's stunning comments.
Ed Mitchell is a big believer in extraterrestrials. And as you and I talked about before, I am one who, because of my faith, I believe that there is very likely other life somewhere else in the universe. I just don't have any evidence to back that up. But Edgar is one who, contrary to my observations, actually claims to have evidence that extraterrestrials exist.
Well, even the Vatican is
12 VP 113, jokingly dubbed Biden. Get it? Corey Powell's editor-at-large for Discover Magazine in studio. How you doing, Corey?
VP Biden.
Right on.
There we go.
Correct on that. Two images show you. This is the arrow obviously pointing to it. But there are three dots on here. One is red, one is green, one is blue.
Right.
What's significant?
So this is the actual discovery image. Basically, two astronomers were looking, one little patch of sky very, very far away, looking for exactly this kind of thing. Stars don't move. Planets or anything that's like a planet does. So this is color-coded. This is what they saw on different nights. They're looking for one thing moving. They color-coded it to show that all these stars are staying still. This thing is moving, and the way it's moving...
So this is just one...
It's one object, color-coded.
Is Pluto on this?
Pluto's in a whole different part of the sky.
So this is way out there.
This is way out there. This is more than twice as far away as Pluto.
Unbelievable. Why does this matter, Corey?
Well, there are two ways you can look at it. I think I look at it first of all as an exploration question. That we know where we are on Earth. We've mapped our planet. Our solar system is still terra incognita. It's full of surprises. This object is something that astronomers said shouldn't even be there. There's a whole other solar system beyond the planets that we know that are full of these things that are sort of planets, sort of comets, Some of them they call dwarf planets. That's what they're calling this one. What we're seeing is we're seeing our neighborhood. We're seeing what's around us. And then the second part is we're seeing where we came from.
Go back to the other image, you guys, and we'll show, because we're over here on the left, right?
That's right. So we're over here.
Okay.
There's
Pluto's out here.
Yeah.
And this thing called Maki is way out here.
That's right. So that's another dwarf planet. If you want to find out where VP 113 or Biden is located, keep walking about another 30 feet that way.
Wow. We can see that far.
And this is the closest it gets this time. When it really gets cooking, it's 15 times as far away as Pluto.
That's incredible.
Takes 4,300 years to go around the sun.
I don't know how you know that, but I trust you. What is a dwarf planet?
So a dwarf planet, the fact that you hear weird terms like that is actually scientists saying there are things out there we don't really understand. It's a dwarf planet is kind of a catch-all term for something. It's round like a planet. It sort of looks like a planet, but it doesn't orbit in a regular way like all the planets that we knew growing up.
Would this be part of our solar system?
So it's part of our solar
system. Would it be outside?
It's a whole new zone. They're calling it the inner Oort cloud. You don't really need to know that. All you need to know is there really are these two solar systems. There's the solar system with the classical planets, and then there's this whole other zone that we haven't explored. And now they're saying because of how this new dwarf planet moves, that there may actually be an even bigger planet, something bigger than the Earth.
I guess that's the point I was going to, because you study this all the time. Is that why it's so significant? Because there's more beyond that?
There's more beyond that, and then there's more beyond that. I mean, I think what we're seeing is, if you watch the show Cosmos, I've been kind of glued to that. And in the last episode, they were talking about the discovery of comets and the discovery of our place in the solar system. We're still learning that. We're still learning this right now, and there's still.
All right.
Yeah.
Just like you're out of space, I'm out of time.
But this, this is where we came from. This is why we're here. Oceans, continents, air,
Thank you,
us.
Corey.
It's all part of that.
You got it, man. Good to have you back.
Ingenuity, huge amounts of computing power, and then hours and hours, months of discussions with colleagues and poring over the data to validate the results.
Thank you. I realize you're focusing on near-Earth asteroids today, but there's been so much talk about the potential for finding a Planet X or some sort of large body through the WISE survey. Can you comment on any status on that sort of search, or maybe even reassure people that Planet X isn't coming to get them next year?
Yes, this is Amy Meinzer. I'm happy to answer this one. Planet X is not coming to get us. But we are looking to see if there are any other bodies in the outer part of the solar system with the WISE data. This is a very natural project for WISE. And so we're still working on it right now. We've obviously just returned a huge amount of data from the telescope that's going to take us a long time to sort through. But the initial results are very promising. You may have seen earlier results where we've discovered a new class of very cool type of stars with WISE. But the search is still on, and we don't think that there's anything that's hazardous in the outer solar system. We think that this is just a sort of if there is something out there, it would be a large body in a roughly circular orbit.
Our next caller, Denise Chow from space.com. Denise.
So when you say the initial results are very promising, the initial results are very promising. Anything else you wanted to say on that point?
We've actually been able to confirm the discovery of 100 new objects that are these very cool stars called brown dwarfs. And so that's very similar to what people are interested in looking for. So we've actually found some of these that are relatively close to the Earth, but none of these are closer at this point than the nearest star to our solar system. So it's a good start, though.
Pluto, the sometimes planet, may be hiding a pretty huge secret. Well, two huge secrets, actually. Astronomers in Spain believe that hiding behind Pluto, obscured from our view, are two additional giant planets. Spanish scientists in Madrid discovered the potential for the two massive celestial bodies at the outer reaches of our solar system after studying strange patterns in the orbit of rocky objects around Pluto, including the newly discovered dwarf planet 2012 VP 113. Scientists believe the first hidden world would be about 10 times the mass of Earth. They believe that this planet is moving in resonance with a bigger planet that is somewhere between Mars and Jupiter in size and would orbit 200 times the Earth's distance from the Sun. But can we ever conclusively confirm the existence of these two planets? Well, Scott Shepard at the Carnegie Institution for Science had this to say. As there are only a few of these extremely distant objects known, it's hard to say anything definitive about the number or location of any distant planets. However, in the near future, we should have more objects to work with to help us determine the structure of the outer solar system. So there you have it. Time will tell.
And now men want to ask me why I'm not into the playoffs this weekend. I'm sorry. I'm so busy covering the incredible hardcore news that I haven't even gotten into the 9th planet that was discovered that they announced last week. And, of course, they discovered it a long time ago. They just got around to telling us. And there's a reason they didn't get around to telling us about it. I am someone who always got sick and tired of hearing about Planet X. Because as long as I've been on the air, people are saying it's coming next year, it's coming in 3 orbit that doesn't go in circles around the sun, but goes way out past the Kuiper Belt and comes in basically at an elliptical. And then I started reading deeper into this planet, and there it was, a 20,000-year deformed orbit going out into deep space, 10 times the size of the Earth. It is Planet X, folks. Isn't that just perfect that this would just show up while all this circus is going on? Now I want to be clear about this. It fits the bill of Planet X. They're probably 50, 60, 100, 1,000, I don't know, Planet X's. They've already chronicled hundreds and hundreds of planetoids bigger than Pluto in the Kuiper Belt out past the former 9th planet, named after the god of the underworld. A fitting name. The Roman god of hell. So they said no more 9th planet because we got to say we have hundreds of planets if there's things bigger than it. Well, Pluto's little. This sucker is gigantor. Compared to Pluto. They're in the news today, meteorologists talking about how the moon being full during the blizzard is going to make it worse, and it does. It affects space winds, winds of space, the sun, and a lot more. Why the full moon could make this weekend's blizzard more destructive, who knows what this planet is going to do coming closer in to the solar system. Because here's the deal. It's been way out there for however long, and now they've tracked its course and think it's every 20,000 years, right out of what the ancient Babylonians and the Mayans and all these other cultures said this big planet comes through and that there's earthquakes and volcanoes and all hell breaks loose. And it comes through every 20,000 years, and then now here it comes. Now, I don't know if this is the one, because there's so many of them out there. Who knows what's out there? We're too busy looking at Hillary Clinton and going, I'm voting for her because she's a woman. Who cares? What I'm getting at is we don't have time for racism and sexism and all this fighting and all this garbage and all this divide and conquer when we have genetic engineering going on, splicing and mutating every species on the planet, like something out of H.G. Wells' The Island of Dr. Moreau, squared. Planet X, they discovered it. 10 times bigger than Earth, the size of Neptune, a gas giant, with a 20,000-year orbit, exactly what a bunch of the ancients said. They said it when it comes back through, it causes massive catastrophes. Volcanoes, you name it. By the way, Kit gave me a whole stack of articles about record volcanoes. I laid it somewhere, I think in there by the coffee pot. But I'm going to have to actually get to that halfway into the hour with Michael Schneider from the Economic Collapse blog and get his take on it. And here's the deal, folks. I don't want to say I'm eating my hat on this, but I've been very, very critical of the perennial books that have been coming out since the mid-90s about Planet X is coming. It's a gas giant, 20,000-year elliptical orbit. You know, the Babylonians talked about it, the Zoroasters, the Mayans. I never said that I didn't think that there aren't a whole bunch of planets out there. They've proven there's hundreds of them that are out in the Kuiper Belt past Pluto. That's why they delisted it, as I said earlier. What I was getting at is constantly saying it's coming next year and constantly saying it's the end of the world and the movie 2012, and then I get blamed for it. They would, I mean, so many news articles going, Alex Jones was the one who said we didn't go to the moon and that aliens run everything and that the Himalayas are going to be, you know, at sea level. Hey, Alex, 2012 didn't kill everybody. And so it just gets old. But it does show how the ancients were certainly right about big planets that come through, and there are big disasters, and there are big asteroids that hit the Earth, and there are big Earth changes, and the elite shouldn't be the focus of everything. They're all busy. I saw another headline last week going, Alex Jones says the elite want off-world colonies to escape Earth. I was quoting top elitist on their way to Davos saying that was going to be up for discussion. It was mainstream news. So even when there's mainstream news that, you know, Thiel and all these other folks and you know, the Tesla owner and all the rest of it are saying we need a Mars colony for the elite, I cover what they say, and then they go, Alex is crazy and made this up. So see, that's how they operate. They think you're stupid. But I tell you, uncanny that the ancients said 20,000 years, bigger than the Earth, and all the rest of it, and here it is. The question is, we're trying to look at its orbit. I mean, is it even scheduled? I guess it's coming in closer. That's what they're saying. That's how they're able to see it now. It's coming in from this orbit. What is it? They're saying many, many, many times further out from Pluto.
You're one ugly motherfucker.
For all of recorded history, civilizations around the world praised the health benefits of silver. At InfoWars Life, our mission is to bring you the highest quality, purest, cleanest, effective colloidal silver on the market today for the lowest price available. You don't have to be a doctor to know. The fall and winter months are the most dangerous time of year in North America when it comes to you and your family's health. InfoWarsLife.com is very excited to announce our biggest run yet of Silver Bullet colloidal silver, exclusively available at InfoWarsLife.com. Now, InfoWarsLife.com has taken colloidal silver to the next level using a cutting-edge technique that is free of toxic artificial additives. Now more than ever, it's important to stock up on high-quality Silver Bullet from InfoWarsLife.com and to help others during Christmas by teaching them about the powerful benefits of silver. Secure your Silver Bullet today at InfoWarsLife.com or by calling toll-free 888-253-3139.
Rabbis for centuries, not recently, ladies and gentlemen, for centuries have had teachings where they have spotted comets and they've noticed what has happened a few years later. They've spotted a comet and they've noted what's happened years later. And they always will tell you the appearance of a comet means trouble for the world.
I know there's not a parent in America who doesn't feel the same overwhelming grief that I do. The majority of those who died today were children. Beautiful little kids between the ages of 5 and 10 years old. They had their entire lives ahead of them. Birthdays, graduations, weddings, kids of their own. Among the fallen were also teachers, men and women who devoted their lives to helping our children fulfill their dream.
Once you discover an asteroid, you got to wait a little while to get enough of a segment of its orbit to calculate what the full orbit will be to know if it will come in harm's way. So, we get the orbit. Turns out, in the year 2029, the month of Apophis will come so close to Earth that it will dip below our orbiting communication satellites. And it is the size of the Rose Bowl. It'll be the largest, closest thing we have ever observed to come by Earth. The orbit we now have for it is uncertain enough, because these things are hard to measure and hard to get an exact distance for. The orbit is uncertain enough, so we cannot tell you exactly where that trajectory will be.
So it doesn't matter where it goes through that keyhole.
Now, that's if it goes through the center. If it goes through other places within that keyhole, then the contact point shifts further into the Pacific or closer towards North America. Or something, yeah. Yes. Okay? But if it goes through the center, it hits the Pacific Ocean, plunges down into the Pacific to a depth of 3 miles, at which point it explodes, cavitating the Pacific.
Hey! I know it sounds crazy.
In a hole that's 3 miles wide, 3 miles deep. That will send a tsunami wave outward from that location. That's an asteroid that breaks up from the gravitational stress as it nears bodies during its life. And so the asteroid becomes a train of objects that would then come and hit one right after another. This is so many hours before the next asteroid will hit. It's unlikely. This is so many hours before the next asteroid will hit. This is so many hours before the next asteroid will hit. This is so many hours before the next asteroid will hit.
The orbits of some of our planets were being messed around with. So we've got Neptune, Uranus and Pluto, and they call it it's perturbation of the orbits. So in other words, there's some large other planet. This is how they found all the planets originally. They found the orbits were being messed around with, and they went looking for an object that was messing with the planetary orbits. So they went looking for another body, and Dr. Harrington noticed that we've got a bit of a problem with these other 3 planets. When he's completing his observations and he sent them off to NASA, he took a load of films, he made some celestial maps, he plotted the orbit of Planet X, he said he'd found it, and all those films went off to NASA and were mysteriously never seen again. Very weird, isn't it?
Very weird.
Yeah, and they've had these in mainstream media, believe it or not. Not so much in the United States. This has been China and Russia have gone with these stories, talking about 2 suns in the sky. People are taking clear pictures of it, and it's all very real indicators that Nibiru is coming in to trash everything, and it's nearly here. That's a creepy looking image, isn't it? You see the bits coming off the edge of it. This is what a lot of people are saying is the dust trail coming off it, which is the iron-based dust trail. So this is like iron oxide, and this is one of the effects they've said of the iron oxide is when it comes swishing by our planet and we get a dose of this iron oxide trail off it. It's going to turn the rivers and the waters to blood, so it will make all the water go red. This is September, so we go into the red zone in September then. So this is what a lot of people are getting spooked by. Just about everybody you can get anywhere going underground. So underground is the place to be. So you certainly don't want to be out in the open, and you also, well, you're need a lot of supplies. I mean, what else could cause this? What else would make people dig holes under the entire United States? Is a third world war going to be that bad that you need to excavate that much? And if that's true, that's where the government suddenly moved to. Because did you know the government moved off the East Coast? Because they've got an underground military base right under the airport, haven't they? The kind of speed this thing's going to be coming in, and if you look there, can you see the big yellow 2016? So let's get into the hotspot here. So this is saying that as we come through November and December, this is going to be like Venus kind of brightness. So this is going to be the giveaway. So let's just say that the timing's wrong on this one. It might not be around March, but this would be what to look for, and this would be the amount of time you would have left until you start getting problems. Onto that there and say that they got it out at about the July kind of level, which is why I'm thinking that our March date probably isn't going to happen. I say probably, meaning definitely. We've got all the events happening and everyone's been building up, but they've been digging holes since '78, haven't they? Yeah, even before then. I mean, we've got the underground stuff that's happened in Russia. We've got military movement all over the place. We've got Chinese cities hanging around with nobody in them that can house 30 million people, because they said that there could potentially be a 600-foot wave, like a giant tsunami. And was it? I think it was higher than that, actually. There's a giant tsunami that's going to take out the east coast of the States. And if that was the case, you'd want to be on high ground, which is why Colorado is a top place to be. The Chinese cities they've built are on high ground. I mean, this is all going back to the previous stories that have been floating around about all these odd places in the world where you've got safe havens underground, you've got bunkers for the elite, you've got places high up which can house millions of people around the world. It's just all a bit peculiar. Look at December. We've got the faintest stars visible in an urban neighborhood with the naked eye. That's 3 months, isn't it? Just about, if we're in between December and January. And that was seen and it was observed, and we've got we look at all the different places that spotted this thing. Yeah, this is September, so we go into the red zone in September then. So this is what a lot of people are getting spooked. If there is something that's out on the edge or it's coming by and it's nearer to them, it's doing some pretty horrible things to them. Because if we've got another sun, here we go. Look, 89 to 2002. Look at that. It's gone swirly.
More and more encounters with giants emerging from UFOs. That the Anunnaki or celestial giants are coming back.
If you were planning a harp war with other nations that have the same technology, you know who's going to suffer the most. It's going to be people on top side, isn't it? But I don't think we can take this story and we can throw it away and we can say, well, it didn't happen in 2003, I think was one of the times it was meant to happen. It just keeps coming back. The Nibiru story is always there, and people are like, nah, this is pure fabrication. It's just not going to happen. We've been told it's behind the sun, it's hiding somewhere, you know, there's always some kind of reason why we can't see it. But when it does pop up, I think at the very least we'll have 40 days notice on it. But I think this is one of those stories that you can kind of tuck away in your top drawer and just go, But I'm not gonna entirely bin this story, because there's some strange stuff going on, and people have seen something that looks awful like this before. Even if it isn't Planet X, there's something swinging around every 350 years that's causing a lot of trouble. Or even if it isn't Planet X, there's something swinging around every 350 years that's causing a lot of trouble. And we're about due for another one. Maybe not this year, maybe not next year, but there's something out there, and you know, I think it would be a good idea to keep an eye out for it.
We as a species are simply too stupid to figure out the universe that we're investigating.
This is September, so we go into the red zone in September then. So this is what a lot of people were getting spooked by. That was related to the original flood, like I was saying, when it whacked Tiamat, or if it came through and knocked out Ceres and created the asteroid belt. Don't know, but either way, if something big turned up, that's looking similar to the last time something really bad happened, isn't it? What NASA will tell you is that most solar systems are actually not singular solar systems, they're binary, which means that you've got a sun and then another sun. So there's two suns, and effectively they would be known as, there'd be two solar systems, but effectively going round each other kind of thing, you know? So they interact with each other, and they're binary solar systems, and they say 80% of solar systems are like that. If we've got a sun coming in that's got Nibiru going round it, it's coming into the solar system, and this thing's like a heater. Now, look at what's happened to Venus. See the picture?
Right.
From 1978, right, where that map of the tunnels was coming from in the 70s, look at that, to 1999, we've got a couple of decades here, and a 2,500% increase in green light coming off Venus. That's a lot of light, isn't it, coming off it? That's enormous.
Right.
And then look, rapid appearance of clouds on Mars. You know, this stuff is weird, isn't it? Originating out here, but we've got a couple of decades here, and then look, 50% erosion of ice features, and you can't hide it. I mean, if you're going on about Jupiter and what's going on with Jupiter's white ovals, look at them changing. I mean, Jupiter's got, remember that great big spot on Jupiter? There's a lot of really weird stuff going on, saying Jupiter has gone up 18 degrees in 10 years. I mean, what would happen if that happened to us on Earth? 18 degrees in 10 years? I mean, look at this. Towering storms more than 100 kilometers high. 100-kilometer high storms going through Jupiter's cloud deck for the first time. I mean, that's pretty severe. I mean, you know, that's
right.
It's not good to see that happening. And then look at this. This is the cue ball. So we've got Uranus here. Now, can you spot any distinctive features on that? That is a cue ball picture, okay? Now, that's 1986. Now, look what happens to it. That's a bit of a problem. Look at that, from 1996 to 2002. It's 40% brighter. It's almost as if that thing's closer to what's coming in, and they're getting a lot of changes because they're nearer to it than we are.
I've done some research on this deep underground tunneling systems and deep underground military bases for a couple of years now, because they're absolutely bragging about the work that they've done. They've put it out here for everybody to see, and they've said, look at this amazing stuff we've done. And I mean, some of it's still, you know, very well hidden, but they are absolutely bragging about it now. And they have been preparing at a breakneck speed for something for them to be able to live underground for an extended period of time. They have massive structures underneath the ground. They have these drilling machines. Some of them are huge, some of them are small, but they are absolutely amazing. They can go through solid rock. They have made an underground system underneath the United States, underneath the world. These things go everywhere. I'm talking everywhere. They are connected globally. I mean, they plan on living here for years, because there's something that they're planning on that they know about that's going to happen. On what it could be, Nibiru, wormwood, something hitting the Earth, the kill shot with the solar flares, or just major martial law and, the New World Order takeover, that they're going to come down here in these things and wait it out while all of the stuff goes down and they get everything under control. Then they're going to pop back up and have their money, wealth, everything. I mean, and these are the things that they put all around the walls after they've gone through and bored the rock and dirt and stuff out of there. They have conveyors that take it all the way back to the entrance of these tunnels, miles and miles. And these things go thousands of miles under the ground. I mean, deep under the earth. This one here is the old style system of doing things, and it took them a long time, but now they have these tunnel boring machines that are absolutely amazing. They are fast. As far as tunneling goes, they are very fast and they are very precise. And they can go as deep as they want to, as long as they don't go into the break through the crust and go into the lava. The liquid section of our planet, because that's gone too deep and too far, and they'll major problems will be there for them. But you can kind of see how they this is a scale model, of course, but you can see how they're doing these things. But they are definitely preparing for the stuff to hit the fan. These things are for real, and they are stocked. They are ready to go. Some people are living in them. There's been reports of VIPs missing. Well, this is where they've gone. They've gone down into these penthouse suites miles beneath the surface of the earth, and are living like kings. And I mean, this is absolutely incredible, the system that they have put in place down the high-speed rail systems. This is Phil Snyder. Some of you might know about his story. He was an engineer and was working on an underground base system in Dulce, New Mexico, and they broke into a cavern of alien greys, the tall alien greys, and he was wounded very bad. Took off part of his hand and part of his guts, and there were 68 special forces units killed in this little fight that happened. But he talked about this incident until they murdered him. He was shot to death, but they did end up killing him, and he knew it, and he told people, he says, they're gonna take me out, but I'm gonna talk as much as I can. We have the right to know this stuff. Our tax dollars paid for all this stuff. I mean, it's incredible. They can grow stuff down here. Absolute total infrastructure that they have underneath the ground, deep underneath the ground, and some of these things are very well guarded with armed guards, state-of-the-art sensors and everything. Some people say that it's Nibiru. We don't know for sure what is going to happen, but they are prepared for something big to go down, because our homes are going to get blown away, I think. I think underground is the safest place. They think this anyways. And they're absolutely flaunting what they have now and bragging about it. So, I can come out with all this stuff now, and there's so much on it. There's so much more than there used to be. You used to couldn't find information on this stuff much, but lately boy, they are just so proud of what they've done. This is an aerial photo of an entrance. This is the entrance underneath the Denver airport, and it's a big hub area too. Dulce, New Mexico is, Denver airport is, and some other places. But, you know, they're connected worldwide. They go underneath the oceans. And like I say, some of them are military bases, some of them are not. Some of them are, there's cities under there. And it's absolutely amazing. And they are well armed, they are well stocked, and they are prepared. This is Chatty Dad 1.
Выяснили, что однажды Нибиру уже погубила другую планету. Оказалось, что 16 миллионов лет назад в нашей Солнечной системе существовала планета Фаэтон. Она располагалась между Марсом и Юпитером. Теперь на ее месте пояс астероидов. Ученые считают этот пояс не что иное, как осколки древней планеты. По словам астрофизиков, скорее всего, Нибиру столкнулась с Фаэтоном, когда она в очередной раз проходила через Солнечную систему. После такого удара планета разлетелась на куски. По словам ученых, правительство просто скрывает от человечества правду, чтобы не вызывать панику.
Представители всех военных разведок мира эту информацию о том, что Нибиру.
I would like some intelligent people to check it out. Moon orbit wrong according to Cornell University.
There would have to be evidence of these passages, ecological evidence, archaeological evidence that shows the calamitous events that transpired during each passage.
Mastodons being frozen instantly with still undigested food in their stomach all over the earth. There is evidence that in the past we have had polar shifts or some type of cataclysmic event on Earth which happens in cycles over time.
They asked the Egyptian priest cults what was civilization like a long time ago, and they said that in the previous 10,000 years they had major devastating events. These were the type that crushed their civilization. Not wars, not pestilence, but dramatic physical events that literally crushed their civilization back into the cave ages. And we see the devastation in cities in South America, ancient cities that are now being discovered, which were obviously destroyed by massive earthquake type situations. Earth definitely, without question, has had major earth changes that have destroyed entire civilizations, and the indication is that it was not that long ago. The concept of a pole shift, in other words, the earth moving its either magnetic or physical pole, has come up many times when we hear people talking about Planet X. Mountain ranges would form, oceans would form huge tides, and this would not be something you'd want to face in everyday life. It would be a very violent event.
When the Earth was very young, it was hit by a Mars-sized object. This collision created an explosion that was so powerful it tilted the Earth. It was this same explosion that created the moon.
Our Earth gives evidence that we have had periodic pole shifts. There's mountain building in and of itself is evidence. These mountains are like pushed together. If you're in an airplane and you look down at foothills, for instance, it almost looks like a rumpled blanket, like somebody took a blanket and pushed it and rumpled it. Mountains are forced upwards with great masses of rocks snapping. This is signs of great pressure, not the gentle squeezing and pushing that happens with earthquakes at all. Indeed, our Earth has had these periodic pole shifts. You can see that in the evidence of the Earth. Go back every time period and you can see other changes during these passages. And when we have pole shifts and violent geological earthquakes and changes and the like, shifting of the tipping of the Earth and shifting of the crust, volcanoes explode. And when they do, there's a lot of molten lava pouring out. Well, lava, being molten, will line up with the current magnetic field. And when lava hardens, that's a permanent freeze, indicating the direction of magnetism at that moment in time. Well, this is one way that they have determined the wandering pole theory, where they've identified places on Earth where they say at one time this appears to have been the North Pole, or that appeared to have been the South Pole, is through this frozen lava alignment. For instance, off of Japan, there's cities and roads that they find under the water. In Bermuda, we see roads and walls and the like. Likewise, land can rise.
Greenland's glaciers flowing into the ocean are grounded deeper below sea level than previously measured. This means that the warm ocean currents at depth can sweep across the glacier faces and erode them. In polar regions, the upper layers of ocean water are cold and fresh, he explains. Cold water is less effective at melting ice. The real ocean heat is at a depth of 350 to 400 meters and below. This warm, salty water is of subtropical origin and melts the ice much more rapidly. They've found that some of the glaciers balance on giant earthen sills that are protecting them for now. But other glaciers are being severely undercut out of sight beneath the surface, meaning they could collapse and melt much sooner.